And thus, my review of Spoiler Alert has come to an end. Or has it? Now, first off, let me send a message to MEGAFUZZ, the creators of Spoiler Alert. Jeff, Martin, hi! I apologize that I was unable to get that stream running of your pre-build of this game. Now, several months later, hopefully, and I say hopefully with a lot of hope, you'll be pleased and you'll be understanding of this review. Also, Jeff, you got some nice hair. It's pretty long. This is a good job. I love it. Spoiler Alert claims to be the first game that you will uncomplete, as the main gimmick of the game is playing in reverse. You start off in World 3 on the 30th level as the Chili Pepper Knight. You take on Mr. Death Bunny by jumping on him once and capturing Princess Tomato, a pink tomato for whatever fucking reason. You exit stage right of the screen and the credits begin to roll. And that's it for the review. 10 out of 10. Would play again, mate. Bye! Just kidding. Once the credits roll for a few seconds, the entire game starts reversing itself, and that's where the game really begins, although there is no main point to why the game reverses itself, it just kinda does. You'll be undoing everything that, quote-unquote, you have done throughout the game, playing from World 3 to World 1. And I use air quotes on you, because you aren't retracing your steps as much as you're retracing the developer steps. But we aren't here to hear about that, we're here to hear about how the game is. So let's first talk about gameplay. And honestly, it's a bit lacking. The game is an on-rails platformer that doesn't feel as much as a true platformer as it does you just playing from right to left. You'll only ever use 2 or 3 buttons. The A button, the right trigger, and the start button. And that's only if you're using an Xbox 360 controller, which I have personally. Keyboard works fine, but we'll talk about it a little bit later as well, since there is something to mention about the keyboard. The entirety of the game boils down to just timing your jumps, with a slight dash of creativity on where you need to time your jumps. Speaking of jumps, you have no freedom in how high or low you jump. Every time you even tap A, your character jumps at top height and speed, and it only ever changes when you hop on an enemy or a mushroom, where the enemies will make you do a little bit of a half jump, and the mushrooms will make you jump at double or triple your total height. The obstacles in this game work in the form of undoing everything, quote unquote, you, once again, have done. So, if you missed uncollecting a coin or unkilling an enemy, you'll be prompted with a time paradox and you'll have to redo the level, which isn't hard or bad because most of the levels last less than 10 seconds. Speaking of time paradoxes, I find the feature to be really creative to act as the game's death mechanic. In normal platforms, if you lose all your hearts or your HP drops to 0, you die. In Spoiler Alert though, you don't die and instead mess up time if you screw up a jump. Throughout the game, you'll obtain certain power-ups that act as a clever way to use the game's reverse mechanic to create another set of obstacles. And to be honest, there are only like 3 of them in the entire game, 1 per world. World 3 having the dragon power-up, World 2 having the power-up to roll, and then World 1 having the hammerhead shark, which allows you to throw hammers, very similar to that of Super Mario Bros. Hammer Brothers. The whole game is more or less a game where you have to time your actions properly in order to progress. And since this game is on rails with its movement, you have no freedom to make any of your own decisions on how you want to traverse through the level. The only time where I've seen the game show any sign of freedom in movement is in the beginning, where you can collect the coins differently. Ooh, much freedom, so America, wow. All jokes aside though, the lack of freedom in the game makes you focus more on just timing your jumps, which isn't that much of a bad thing, so don't listen to the underbelly of the internet saying this game is horrible just because you have no freedom in movement. As for visuals, this game has a very simplistic art style that matches the gameplay very well. The sprites look very polished, even if the number of frames in the animations are lacking, which doesn't hinder the gameplay in any way, shape, form, or plasma nature. Almost each character and enemy in the game are an interesting turn on enemies and characters you would normally see in a typical platformer. The backgrounds are average and simple, although at times they can include some interesting scenery, like an invaded town or a Cyclops whose eye follows you as you progress through the level. Spooky, but pretty damn neat. As for audio, I found the music to be catchy and fun. It gave the soundtrack of the game actual personality, and nothing about it sounded generic in the slightest. I found myself humming along to the main theme of the game several times while writing this review. My favorite track, however, would have to be Invasion of the Blue Squids, World 1's theme. Almost every song in this game, and keyword there is almost, fits in perfectly, and I had to give Roland Lagoy major props for the work he's done with the score. Now, let's go over what and how much content you get for your money. Spoiler alert is an extremely short game, and before everyone starts running to every single forum and downranking this game just because of how short it is, just hold your trousers. You wearing a skirt? Clench it. You aren't wearing anything below your hip? What is wrong with you? In comes the level editor. Jeff Jensen made a post on the Steam forums discussing his knowledge of how short the game is, and talks about how the level editor is his idea of having players create unique maps to further add value to the game. And quoting his words in the case no one does much of the level editor, which isn't that popular right now as it is anyways, he says the following. I will start putting it to good use myself. I did make all the original levels after all, so I should be able to stuff in some hopefully fun levels. From this quote, I imagine that Jeff will be adding a lot of free DLC, and I hope it is free. If it's paid, that is a jerk move. Speaking of the workshop, there is barely any hope for it now. I mean, come on. There are like 12 total maps uploaded to the workshop. I decided to make my own map and upload it, so hooray for contribution! Lots of penguin mushroom. It's going to be a massive hit with all the spoiler alerts players. I can feel it. However, even with the level editor, you'll be getting at most around an hour or two of gameplay max. I finished the main game in under 40 minutes, and the time I spent getting a perfect ranking on the levels was included to that. So if you're an MLG spoiler alert quickscoper, you should be able to complete the main story in less than 20 minutes. There are other additions like the mariachi level, which is hilariously excellent, but very lacking in levels. And the speedrun mode where the entire game is one big level as opposed to the little divisions the main game has, and will grade you based on how you performed overall throughout the run. All that for $7.99 US. Worth it? Well, we'll talk about that later. And lastly, replayability. Replayability is an important part to any game as it can allow you to clock in more hours in the main game, plus its side activities has to offer. And what does spoiler alert give you? Zero replayability! Yes, you can go back to the levels you played in to observe how the obstacles were placed and how the levels were designed, but honestly, only people who are interested in game development or game developers themselves would do that. There are 3 hidden secrets scattered throughout each world, but they have absolutely no impact towards anything but your personal satisfaction of being a completionist. Other than that, the only extra minutes you'll clock into this game would be with the level editor. Overall, Spoiler Alert is a good but lacking game. It received a lot of criticism and hate because of its length and lack of innovative things they could have done with their mechanic. But those two alone aren't reasons why you shouldn't play this game at all. Once again, the game is currently $7.99 US on Steam, and although it did have a 20% sale for the first week of it being released on Steam, most of you watching this right now wouldn't know that because I made this review after the sale ended. Hooray for inconvenience! But in all seriousness, if you do want to support the developers, which I always recommend you do, especially a startup game studio like MEGAFUZZ, buy this game at its current price. Otherwise, wait for a price drop. If you buy it at full price, however, you are getting a 30 to 120 minute game depending on how well you play the game and how much you use the level editor. There are 10 total achievements you can earn, but most of them you could attain by doing things you normally would in any platformer, and by normally playing through the game. The longest one to achieve is watching the credits for hell's sake, and those aren't even that long either. It's like 45 seconds. The 30 to 120 minutes that you do play this game though, are great. There are no bugs or glitches, and it overall is a good game that does a good job at being an on-rails platformer. Now, MEGAFUZZ has plans to release this game on the App Store, Google Play, and the Windows Marketplace. A mobile device is what this game appears to be and is, in fact, better on that platform. So even though the mobile version isn't out for public release and is only available in a pre-built for Google Play so far, I can still give this game a rating for its PC version, and in the future I may do a short review for the mobile version, but that's for the future. So, what does Spoiler Alert receive in all? Spoiler alert receives a 6 out of 10. It's a slightly above average platformer that does do a good job with the mechanic it has, but it could have been utilized a whole lot better. The music and visuals fit well for a game as simple as this, so much so that it bumped up the score by a point alone. However, the length of the game and the amount of content really hurt its score, which is a huge shame considering this game has been nominated for being the most promising and innovative game for the PC this year at Casual Connect Europe 2014. For the mobile release of Spoiler Alert, I can already see myself pointing out less negative things, since the game feels like a pick up and play type game, which is perfect for phones and tablets, although that is not set in stone since I'll have to do a quick review about that later. So this is not the last of Spoiler Alert you have heard from me. To kick off my game review series-like thing, let's go ahead and start off easy with a very recent and very short game, Spoiler Alert.
Spoiler alert!
Hey, did you like what you saw here? Well, good news! You can always go ahead and click the thumb at the bottom of this page, preferably the thumbs up. I promise, it's a nice thumb. You don't have to press the bad thumb unless you want to make me cry, which is sad. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, although I don't use Facebook much at all, so Twitter is your best bet if you would like to bond with me. Hey, how's it going everybody? My name is RavedFun and this is not a Let's Play. Welcome to my end slate. I may or may not make this like a long type of thing, although right now I do want to keep it short just to keep the video length short and just keep in the spirit of short things like this review was. Speaking of that, thank you very much for listening to this if you are, because it tells me that you watched through the entire review. I really hope you enjoyed it. This was my first time making like anything like this, so a lot of feedback would be very much appreciated. Support of course is nice as well, but I want feedback more than anything else because I want to hone my skills as a game reviewer. I am a Let's Player as well, so I usually keep a lot of aspects of Let's Playing and improv in my scripts and all, but when it comes to stuff like this, where I really have to get, like, I have to dig deep, it's something that's new to me, and I just want to know what I could do right and what I've been doing wrong and what I should keep doing from this. Now, let me go ahead and give you some recommendations. Now, of course, since I'm a Let's Player, they are all Let's Plays, so if you don't like Let's Plays, you can click out of the video now. You've already done more than enough by giving me support if you have, or giving me feedback, or just watching the video. Giving me those 11 minutes of your time. It means a lot to me. I would give you a kiss right now, but it would sound very disgusting and disturbing right now, so I'm not gonna do that. Let's talk about videos. First, to the far right, we have my Mario Kart 8 series with Ocarina Surge, my friend Tyler. You may or may not know him, but we're doing a collaboration there. It's fun, it's nice, it's short. I don't have all the episodes up yet, but I will get to them eventually. In fact, I'll probably work on it right after I finish recording this little end slate thing here. What's next? In the middle, The World Ends With You solo remix. Hold on, I must cough. I probably took that out of my Audacity sound file just because I don't want you guys to hear me coughing. But anyways, The World Ends With You solo remix. It's a project that I've been working on ever since September of 2013, and I'm only 9 episodes in. I know, put me on a pike and flay me. But I've been busy with this stuff, and I've had a lot of issues recording it. I can record it fine now, but it takes a lot of work, which I don't have the time to do, nor am I that anxious to work on. I want to get to work on these game reviews because I feel like it's something that I want to take a break from doing. I want to take a break from doing Let's Plays for a little bit and focus on, you know, game reviews and all. So, The World Ends With You. It's a JRPG that has a nice story, and it has like a manga-esque art style. It looks really cool, and I pretty much voice act everything in the game, even the females, so if you want to hear me be a complete idiot, by all means, watch it. You can also learn a little bit about Japanese if you want to, but then again, don't rely on me to be your Japanese teacher. More like a history teacher. You'll know eventually when I get to that. And last but not least, to the far left, we have Splunky, my most recent and the one that is currently being updated normally, Let's Play series. Splunky is an indie game which I eventually will get to reviewing in full, but right now I'm doing a Let's Play series, if anything, for the sake of recording and for giving it to the people who want to see. By that I mean like 2 or 3 people. Now, Splunky is a fun series that I like to do. I pretty much just do whatever the hell I want, I can say whatever I want, I don't have to be all, like, you know, uptight and professional like I am with my usual Let's Plays, where I want to keep things at a professional rate, and I can just pretty much, you know, do whatever I want and play the game as I want, and it's a fun experience. Splunky's a game that a lot of people like to watch because of all the unexpected crap that can happen. So, if you're into that kind of stuff, by all means, take a look at it. With all that being done and said, you can also like the video to show support, and subscribe if you would like to go and get notifications on my videos. Which, if you like this, I would recommend you do, just because it makes me feel nice about myself, and it gives you more of an incentive to check back on YouTube to look at more of these videos. Anyways, with that being done and said, this end slate is very long as it is, even though I just said I wasn't going to keep it that long. So, until next time, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.